So excited that you all are here. We have a big group that's joining today. So I would like everyone to know that we are recording this presentation as well. You are welcome to keep your video on, or if you're not comfortable with that, you can turn your video off. Although I sure like to see the faces. I feel like we need some music, like do 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 do. Okay, Seth, I might just allow you to unmute and talk to us about your bee picture.
Yeah, it was from a few years ago. Unfortunately, I don't have bees right now.
Oh, that's all
I
right.
wish I did. We need more people to have bees, though. So if anyone else is listening, consider putting them in your yard.
We just got a little bee. I got a little insect house for my house, a little pollinator house. So we're excited. And we're just going to ask everyone to, as you're joining, to put your phone on mute. If you don't put yourself on mute, I'm going to mute you. We're going to use the chat box down at the bottom to communicate. We're expecting a big crowd of folks today. So it'll be really hard to do that if everybody's talking. So if you want to practice, feel free to say hello to the group using the chat window if you've not done that before. Also, we are recording this session today, just a disclaimer for all of you so that we can put this out for others to see. Yesterday or last evening we did this, and we were in meetings all day yesterday, and it was just so nice to see so many faces. I can't tell you the last time I've seen so many faces. Even though I couldn't hear people talk, it was just nice to see other people. I hope you all get that same feeling today.
Holly, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All
Sure
right.
can. He gets to talk, you guys, because he's the architect. Hi, Sally.
Hi there.
Just a disclaimer to everyone that is coming on as you're joining. Please go ahead and mute if you are not presenting. And we are recording this session today. So just know that we will be recording and putting that out. I was just saying, I sure love seeing everybody's face. If you would rather that not be the case, then you can go ahead and turn your camera off. We're expecting a pretty big group today. If you haven't joined a Zoom call yet, or you're not familiar necessarily with this particular platform, feel free to practice your chat down at the bottom by just saying hello to the group. I will do the same here. So you all can see that a little orange box will pop up for you when a message comes out on the bottom, and you will know that somebody's trying to tell you something. We are going to be using the chat for questions and comments as we go through the session today. So be sure that you take a moment to do that. So I have 11:30, but we're going to give this just a minute, knowing that we have a lot of folks that are going to be joining. We'll give that one more minute. See a lot of folks popping up. Those of you that are joining, I'll just request that you please put your phone on mute. We will have a lot of folks on the call today. We're going to be using the chat window or the chat box down at the bottom to put your comments in. I am recording the session today. At least I hope I'm recording. I think I'm recording. So just so you all know that we will record this session today. The other note that's kind of fun is that I'm able to save the chat. So any comments that you put into the chat window, we will save and be able to use those as we move forward in this process. So Sean, if you're ready, I think we'll go ahead and get started. As we saw last evening, I think folks will join as we go through. Just kind of pop in here. I cannot tell you how excited I am to see all of you joining in today and learning about where we are with this library building project. This is the second of the two sessions that we had planned, and last night we had a really great session. It was the end of a day of a lot of meetings that we had yesterday about the project though, and I gotta say, I felt like my air was kind of dwindling out a little bit. Today I'm super excited, so you'll have to just hopefully embrace my excitement as we go through this presentation today. I said last night, I feel like we're showing our baby for the very first time. Like we've been quarantined in the hospital and nobody's been able to see our baby yet, and we're showing our baby for the first time. But what I will say is this is your baby. This is your library. This is the Marion Public Library, the community's library. And so we're at a point in time where we kind of want to show you the baby, and we need you guys to help us put some clothes on it and get it dressed and pick out the nursery and all that kind of good stuff. I like to use analogies. I'm Holly Trineri. I am the director of the Marion Public Library. I've been in my role now for about a year and a half, almost 2 years it seems. I keep throwing these numbers out and time's flying. Welcome. We are excited to sort of do the community kickoff on the new library building project. For those of you joining, I'm going to ask that everyone mute their phone and know that we are going to be using the chat functionality at the bottom of your screen today for your comments and your questions. We want input, comments, questions, even if it's a wow, or this is awesome, or oops, I'm not real sure about that. Put it all in there, and we're going to address it as we go through the session today. We expect it to take about an hour and a half. That's what it took last night. We don't have a hard stop at the end. At least I don't think we do. So we'll be sure to try to answer all of the questions and comments as we go through. In addition to having our myself on the line, I want to introduce you to our team. We have our architect team that is represented by our wonderful company, Ingberg Anderson. My co-presenter for the session today, our lead co-presenter, is Sean Kelly from Ingberg Anderson. Sean, do you want to introduce?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sean with Emberg Anderson. I'm one of the architects on the team. Also on the line today is Acela. She is the interior designer from Emberg Anderson, and then Galia Azu at the bottom. She's another architect with me working on the project. So we're here to help you out.
Acela and Galia, say hello so your face pops up and wave at everybody.
Hello, I'm Acela.
Hello, everyone.
There she is. Thank you. In addition to our architect team, we also, I like to tell everyone as a library director, as a wife, a mom, a citizen, I've never even built a house. So building a library is a big project, and we are very thankful to have a construction management team that will be the partner in helping us on the construction side of the house. And that team is Bush Construction. Do we have Jared on the line?
I'm here.
Hey, Jared, you want to do introduction?
Good morning. Yeah, my name is Jared Engler, and I represent Bush Construction. And our job is to really make sure that the job gets built safely, on time, and on budget. And, you know, as Holly said, her job is to run the library, and our job is to take really all the day-to-day construction activities off of her plate and make sure that that the jobs ran smoothly and efficiently, so she can focus on running her library. So that's what we do. We work hand in hand with Sean and his team on the design, and right now we're actually working on the budgeting of the library, making sure that the job starts out of the gate on budget, and that budget stays on track all the way through when we start construction. So we're happy to be on the team and excited to get going on the project. So.
Thanks, Jared. We're going to hear more from Jared as we go through the presentation. In addition to those two very important components of our team, there is a group of folks that have been working really hard alongside the architect team and the construction manager, myself, and that's the steering committee. So back in the fall, the library board gave permission and sanctioned a steering committee to help us get to the point that we're at right now with this project. And our goal here is, as I said at the beginning, I really mean that this is your library. This is the community's library. And it was really important for us to bring a group of folks together to represent all aspects of our community to help get us to the point that we are at today. So I will, I'm going to go through my list over here to see who we have from the steering committee on the phone that I can introduce. I'll introduce Kelly Dibvig first. She's the deputy director at the library. She's waving now. We have Sally Reck, a member of the library board that is on the call. Kim Rose from our library board as well is a steering committee member. We have Will Brandt, Councilman Will Brandt on the line, a part of our steering committee. Mike Barkalow, city engineer. I'm not sure, from a name perspective, I think that's all I can see at this point. But we also have Councilman Steve Jensen and the mayor serve on the steering committee for the library building project. In addition to Tom Treharn, community development director, Leanne Carey from the our finance director. That's an important piece. We also have Brooke Prouty from the Uptown District, Main Street, to help us, as we are a big part of the Uptown of Marion as well. So that, I think, rounds out our steering committee. Oh, the two most, I think, important folks also on the steering committee are two citizens. That's Ross Mcintyre and Renee Nelson. They represent sort of the greater good of our community as folks that are not connected or employed by the city or any type of ancillary organizations. They represent just families of the community and have been a very integral asset to that steering committee as well. So the steering committee has been doing a lot of work along with myself and Kelly and the team, to bring us to the point that we are at today. And that point is to kind of introduce you to the baby so far and start to really hear from you all. Have we missed the mark? Are we building something that resonates with our community, that is representative of our community? Because that is what has been most important to us as we've been progressing along. So if you don't mind, Sean, I will take a minute to update everybody on the progress that we've had so far. We'll go to the next slide. As I mentioned, this is the second of 2 community input sessions that we have set up right now. We did one last night, and we're doing this one here with you all today. I wanted to just take a moment to talk about investing in libraries. We still get a lot of comments. I got to say, it's a hard question, but I'm always very eager to answer, why are libraries still important? Why are we still investing in libraries? And I will tell you that I have, not only is it a personal opinion of mine, I would say that the studies and the polls and all of the research that exists out in the world today, I will go as far as to say the world, really indicates that libraries are more important today than they have ever been in our history. And this Gallup poll that came out at the end of 2019 really emphasizes that. So the big headline here in this Gallup poll is library visits outpaced trips to the movies in 2019. So little snippet here will tell you that more people went to libraries last year than they went to 8 other common leisure activities. So more people went to the library than went to a live music or theater event. More people than visited national parks or historic parks, and more people went to libraries than museums, casinos, zoos, or theme parks. So if you think that the folks are not going into the library or utilizing the library, I think the Gallup poll statistic here really emphasizes the fact that libraries are a #1 leisure activity still to this day, although the reasons why folks go to the library often change with the times, and we'll talk a little bit more about how our library building will address that. Next slide, Sean. So a little bit more specifically about our library, and I would just like to share that I'm sharing these statistics to sort of show you where the Marion Public Library adds up in our community and our state. This is certainly not intended to be a competitive slide or to show you to compete with our partners, because we very much intend to be a good partner and neighbor to all of our libraries in the community. We have a strong partnership with all the libraries in our community and the state. Marion, the city of Marion, is the 11th largest city in the state. So of all the cities in the state, we rank number 11. But as far as libraries go, we rank number 5. So we are in the top 5 of library statistics across the state. You can see there that we have Iowa City and Ames, our big college towns there. Des Moines as our largest city, Cedar Rapids is our 2nd largest city, and Marion is right in there with those top 5 cities in the state. So that's a really great statistic for us. In addition, there are 11 Linn County libraries. Every incorporated city, save just a few in the county, in Linn County, have a library. And then we have our rural library, our Linn County residents. That's a hard word for me. And I'm happy to report that the Marion Public Library circulates more to our Linn County residents than any other library in Linn County. So that is a big deal for us, because we get funding from the county for providing that support. And for the very first time this last year, we moved up in our service to Linn County residents. And so we're very proud of that. This last statistic that I have here that comes from our state library statistics, I put this in here to really show the Marion public use of the library. A lot of people say, yeah, the library may be busy, but how many people in Marion actually use the library, and what does that look like? And so this per capita statistic really emphasizes that, to show that our circulation per capita in Marion is around 17. in contrast to Cedar Rapids, where it is close to 8. Now, that doesn't mean that we're better or less or more or whatever, that comparison with Cedar Rapids. It really just shows that the folks in Marion that are using the library are using it at a very high level. And we're super proud of that. I'm trying to advance the slide. Sean, did you see that? So as I stated earlier, I joined the Marion Public Library back in September of 2018. And at that time, the library was engaged in an investigation over a different type of project. This was a mixed-use project that was being contemplated up in where the Marion Square Mall site is now. And we were kind of heading down that path, and as we were continuing down the path, that project had been in the works for quite some time. I recognized that the community of Marion is growing so fast that sometimes that growth is outpacing our data. Just to give you a point of reference, the population of Marion has more than doubled since this particular library was built. So when I started, we were working off of some data that was getting pretty close to 5 years old at the time. And I thought, it might be some time for us to update our needs assessment. And we do needs assessments to understand that population growth, where that growth is happening in the community, and how the library needs to be able to respond. This is no different than the fire station assessing the growth in the community and understanding where fire stations need to be. Although certainly theirs has a lot to do with safety and response time. We are a public service as well, and understanding where the library needs to be is a big part of that needs assessment. So we ended up with 4 options for our needs assessment when we went through that back in late fall of 2018. And then this was presented to the library board and city in the winter of FY19. So just a little bit over a year ago. And so 4 options were contemplated here. You can see this. One of the things that we thought was, what if we just made a big, super big library? The bigger the better. And just put it somewhere. Well, there's a lot of cost that comes with a big space. And then there's not always a great opportunity to make sure that everybody has access to that and can get to that from transportation perspective. The other was understanding the growth of Marion and knowing that we have a couple of different growth pockets where we're seeing a lot of a development right now, up to the north, out to the east. Maybe we needed one central library and a couple smaller branches, and maybe we could have a little branch out to the east and a little branch out to the north. Again, anytime we start to talk about bricks and mortar, there's costs that go with bricks and mortar, and then you have to put people in those locations. So the more locations you have, the more people you have, and then your overhead cost really becomes a driver in the decision making. We have had a lot of feedback about, keeping our library in uptown and then putting something up to the north. Again, that bricks and mortar and the operational costs associated with that really did not make that a good option at all. And you can see the performance scores there. And so where we landed was meeting one of the most important requirements that the library board had given us, was that we really wanted to stay uptown. We wanted to stay in this location. But we also wanted to make sure that we could provide service to the entire community. So we landed on option number 2, which is a 50 to 52,000 square foot main library in Uptown Marion with a mobile library. And mobile library is kind of a fancy term these days for a bookmobile. Maybe in the chat, you all can let me know if you remember a bookmobile from some time in your life or some place that you lived. A bookmobile is going to allow us to take the library anywhere we want to go in the community. So we're going to go on a schedule, and there'll be a schedule as we continue to work through this. The reason why we're calling it a mobile library, not a bookmobile, is because it really is going to be an extension of the building itself, and it will be more than just books. It'll be a mobile unit that will allow us to have technology plus print materials. It will be Wi-Fi enabled. We'll be able to put Wi-Fi enabled parts of our neighborhoods and community. So lots going on with that mobile library. For purposes of our presentation today, I'm going to ask, we're going to just be focused on the building, because that's the area right now that we're focused on and that we need to, we really want your input. and buy-in. We'll have a lot more information on that mobile library moving forward. So just one more little slide here to talk about some of the things that really drove our decision for this option. Impactful service, it's the most flexible and adaptable. It continues to allow us to build off of the synergies that we have in Uptown and our adjacency to City Park, the Marion City Park. We really want to be a good steward and continue to help reinforce the vitality of Uptown. And then we're really close to a lot of neighborhoods that emphasizes the walkability factor. Our closeness to Vernon Middle School, we have a lot of foot traffic that comes our way as well. Okay, Sean? So just to let you know where we are now and kind of how we've journeyed to this point, we did have a change in the project back about a year ago from this time, in which we decided to take a different direction away from our Marion Square Mall site. That was something, as I said, that had been contemplated, and at the end of the day, just didn't work. It was something that we all decided was not going to work out in the best interest of the library financially, and for the city. So about a year ago, we took a turn and started looking for a new location. We're going to talk about that location here in a little bit. We did a lot of groundwork that brought us to January of this year, where the City Council approved an $18 million budget subject to reverse referendum. There's a little breakdown right here for you for where those dollars are coming from. We already had $5 million in local option sales tax that had been allocated to the library many years ago. The City Council approved the issuance of $7 million in general obligation bonds to make up the other piece of the budget for our project. We will be selling the existing site, and by we, I mean the city. The city of Marion actually owns the library property in our building. The library is not our own legal entity. So although the library board governs the library and helps to oversee the day-to-day decision-making and strategy of the library, the physical building and the lot itself is owned by the city. So we do anticipate to sell this. The market value that we have established for this lot right now is $3 million, which we think is in alignment with our appraisal. And then we will be in a $3 million capital campaign, or a community campaign, to help us round out the remainder of the dollars that we need for our budget. The deadline for the reverse referendum expired back in the end of February. So that was a big celebration day for us when we knew that no one had a filing or stepped forward to fight the reverse referendum. So we're really excited for that project, or that part of the decision making. So once that happened, we confirmed that we had our signed contract with Ingberg Anderson. We signed our contract with Bush Construction as our construction manager, those folks you just met. And then prior to some of that work, we had engaged with Amperage. Amperage is a consulting firm that works with organizations on fundraising and capital campaigns. We completed a community-wide feasibility study, and that study just really goes out and says, can we do this? Can we raise $3 million for the capital campaign? We completed that, and it was positive, had a positive indication for a capital campaign for the library. So we signed a contract with Amperage, and we are beginning the silent phase of our capital campaign right now. What that means is you all won't be hearing a lot about fundraising. We want to focus a lot on the stuff that we are going to talk about with you all today. And then probably midsummer, we're going to hear a little bit more about how you can support the library financially if you choose to do so. I'm just going to take a quick look here. It doesn't look like we have any big questions, just some good positive comments in our chat. Anyone have any questions for me about what I have talked about here and what has gotten us to this path before we move forward? Please put your question or comment in the chat. Okay. Well, if you think of something, please don't hesitate. I will be monitoring the chat from here on out. I'm going to turn it over to Sean, and he's going to bring you up to speed on where we are with the design.
Hello. So this is going to be a compartmentalized review through the buildings. We're going to look at site, we're going to look at the exterior, we're going to look at the interior, and at each point we're going to take a little break, text or fill in the chat box as we go with your questions, and we'll try to answer them as we go, but we'll also leave some time at the end of each of these very brief presentations for you to ask questions. And we can always go back. So if you think of a question that based on where we've advanced to, I can always move the slides backwards. So back in 2015, we reached out to the community and we did a few of these visual preference surveys. So we show anywhere from 40 to 60 images, and we get feedback on them, and then we rank those images based on the feedback. And we put together kind of these are the images that resonated most with the people that took the survey. We started out there in 2019, and we took kind of a portion of the lower ranking ones and replaced them with some newer images, and redid that and went out to the community and asked for feedback on the images. Several of them were ranked high again. We got a few newcomers to the list, and really that is, before we put any pen or pencil to paper, just kind of getting a feel of the community and what types of things that they like, and moving forward. This isn't trying to pick out the building that you would like, but it's trying to pick out elements and things, you know, glass, brick, light, stone, any types of materials, kind of getting us a nice feel of where we think the Marion community wants to see this building go. So that was kind of our first step in the process. The next step is we tried to look at the site and try to understand where the siting of the building would be. So within that, I wanted to just show everyone where we're looking to build the building. If you didn't already know, this is uptown, and we're looking. This area in the middle is the uptown, is the park that sits there. This is the main square. So you're looking at 6th Avenue and 5th Avenue up here. This is the existing library where it sits today. We're looking at filling in the lot just to the east of that, which sits between the City Hall and the current library. It's really where the overflow parking lot is for the library right now.
So Sean, that street to the north of the park is 7th.
7th, sorry.
Yeah,
right,
just
the south is 5th.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. Sorry, I got caught here on my cord. So this is the site that we're looking at. It would be between the current library and City Hall. To walk through the site, so we looked at a couple different ways to arrange the site, and we ended up on this orientation. So the most largest facades face north and south, and the smaller ones are east and west. North is up on every image, every plan image that you'll see going forward. So we're looking at 6th Avenue above here and 5th Avenue below. This is one of the most energy efficient ways to do it. It's very hard to control east and west light. It's very easy to control north and south light. So this is the most energy efficient. It's a part of the big kicking off piece of this. The arrows on here, the large red arrows, indicate entries to the building. So the main entry here is to the north off of 6th Avenue. This comes in across from the park and the mall up here. We also have a southern entry here, which is accessed mostly by the parking lot. So these are a way to communicate these two entries together through the building. And we'll see a little bit more of that as we look at the floor plans. The parking lot is accessed off of 11th Street and 12th Street. This is a two-way passage through the site. So you can enter or exit off of either of these, and then we do have a book drop and service window, again, which you'll see more of on the interior of the building. The parking lot does accommodate 62 spaces here at the south, and then we do have on-street parking on 11th, 6th Avenue, and 12th. So there's on-street parking around the site. 5th Avenue is not planned to currently have on-street parking on it. There is there's bike racks located on the south, by the south entry, right off the parking lot, very easily accessed by this way. And there is also going to be some on the north area here. We will be keeping the streetscaping in place that is currently along 6th Avenue. It won't be grass, it will be the current streetscaping that you can go see there today.
Sean, we did have a question about how many parking spaces do we currently have adjacent to the building? And I think we've determined we have about 45 on our lot.
Yeah, it's in the mid 40s, and I'd have to go back and check my notes to get the exact number, but
Sure,
yeah,
and that does not include the overflow parking. So this is
Right.
definitely an increase from what we currently have on our parking, and more adjacent to the building.
Yes. And then, okay, I just want to make sure there were no other comments on there. So I think this is about it for the site. I can pause for a little bit. We are going to have a full planted hedgerow around our parking. This will have a mature height of 4 feet. So it will shield the parking lot from the residential neighborhood to the south.
I will just add, and you touched on it, and we'll see some more pictures of this a little bit, but when we talk about a service window, like we actually mean the service window. So we will have a drive-through window at the library that will become a pickup location. So those of you that are used to using the library and may place holds, you know that you can choose to pick your book up or your materials up at any of our libraries, but you now will have an option to pick up at the drop-off window. So if it's wintertime and it's super cold outside and you want to just drive through and pick up your hold, you can certainly do that. You have a kiddo in the car that's fallen asleep, I'm sure we can make a quick dash for you to pick something up. So we're really excited. I keep saying to folks that the foresight of this design has made us look a lot smarter now during the pandemic than we thought we were when we did it, right? So if you think about if we had a drive-up window now, what we would be able to do at the library. And so this is one of many features in this new building that I think are going to help us prepare. You know, heaven forbid we have another pandemic or disaster. I'm sure something will happen again in the future, and that'll be a great option for us to have to continue service to the public. We got a comment that someone likes the drive-through window.
All right. I'm going to move on to the exterior design, but feel free to ask questions as we go through here. So I did want to start out that this has been a very interactive and fun process with the steering committee, the library board, and the city staff. Is that we've how we like to work is we start out with some concepts, and then it's a level of refinement as we go through. So what you're kind of seeing in this slide is a few of the images that we did is we just keep tweaking and we keep refining as we go through, and we try to address things that come up in these different meetings. This isn't like we present it and we're done. This is we present, we get feedback, we go, we work some more, we come back with some new images or refinements, and then we talk more about them. So each one of these represents kind of a different option that we discussed with the steering committee and with the stakeholders in the design group and in the further refinement. Today, this is where we're at today. So I wanted to show you a couple of images here. So the building is primarily brick. We have a lot of glass is probably our second most material on the building. And then we're looking at some sort of metal option as an accent near the entries and some other key aspects of the building.
Hey, Sean.
Yes?
Yep, go ahead.
Yep.
I was just going to have you orient them to where this view was.
Yeah, we are standing in the park right now, and we're looking southeast. So this is 6th Street or 6th Avenue coming across here, and then this is 11th Street along here. So this is the west side of the building, and this is the north side of the building. We have a little bit of a plaza in front of the library, looking as a community space in this area to activate this corner a little bit. We have the main entry you can see here by the signage. And then we do have a second floor terrace that is accessible to the public.
Let's talk about that fireplace, Sean. You know how I like to talk about the fireplace.
Yes. We also have a fireplace, and you'll see that in the plan as well. The fireplace starts on the first floor. This is a double-sided fireplace. So if you can see through it, and then you can actually, the nice thing about it is you can kind of have two different groups that can enjoy the fire at the same time. Similar on the second floor, the double-sided fireplace on the second floor is to the outside as well as the inside. So A lot of people can enjoy the amenity, and a lot of people can enjoy the amenity differently. And it's not just kind of a single-use item here. And we did try to feature it prominently in the building architecture as well in the plan that you'll see.
The smoke is for effect, so everyone knows that it is a fireplace.
Right.
It will be a gas fireplace, so we don't expect a big smokestack coming out the top. But we're super excited to have indoor-outdoor space. And we have a comment. Seth Moomey says he can't wait for some Christmas story reading by the fire. Maybe we can make snowman too.
Yeah, you could have a snowman making activity on the terrace.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the west facade, and again, I can go back. This is how we try to do this. Is to activate this area. We located in this area right at the lower end. These are the meeting rooms, the big multi-purpose. This is as you see in the plan, about 150-person meeting room that can be divided into two 75-person meeting rooms. But it does have access out the side here. So that if anything ever happens in the future, we can activate this area of the uptown.
So I can talk about what may happen in the future. If you all haven't heard this discussion, there's been an ongoing discussion for many years that this portion of 11th Street would be closed. Uh-oh. I just do a mute there. That this portion of 11th Street would be closed. For some time, there was some thought that 11th Street would open all the way back up from north to south through the park, and that is not going to happen. And so when Sean refers to what might happen in the future, there could be an opportunity for the north side of this block to be turned into more of a plaza on the 6th Avenue side. And so having those doors open here from this meeting space could be a really cool indoor-outdoor space activity if there were something happening outside that we could connect to within the library.
One of the other things that this image does show is there is a little bit of a slope to the site. It does feel pretty flat when you're out there, but it does slope down from 6th Avenue down to 5th Avenue. And we are making up a little bit of that slope here in the street. So the building will stay level as we go across. We're going to align it with 6th Avenue, but we do have to make up some of that slope in the side. So we're introducing some planter boxes as well as some vegetation to help with that.
Just getting some comments about what could happen out there if that were closed.
This is the north elevation of the building. And you're looking at 6th Avenue again, and then on the left of your screen, that's 12th Street. So the building architecture does wrap around the corner, and then we have a little bit of emergency access and loading along the side here. We do have to have those pieces as part of the building, but the majority of the facade is really focused towards those pedestrian friendly to the sidewalk. Part of the zoning code does require that we break up our building, and I think that we've tried to achieve that. So each of these, although it is a very long building, it's a 250-foot building, we tried to break it up into individual sections so it fits more in with the uptown feel of kind of of different sections of buildings. We've got a nice brick building on the side, a centerpiece which is recessed back slightly in this metal, another brick area, and then another metal main entry zone. So hopefully trying to meet those zoning and design requirements of the city.
Sean, did you see the question about the window coverings? There's a lot of light coming in. Will there be any way to control?
Absolutely. The majority of our glass actually faces north, so there would never be any direct sunlight into the building. But when on the east, south, and west side of the building, we do have operable motorized shades that track timed with the sun. So there's we are concerned about glare. We are concerned about the heat gain from that to the building. So we are taking that into account.
Catherine asked, will we be able to use those doors going in and out of the multi-purpose room for more than just fire escape? Will they be able to be used for events? And the answer to that is yes, Catherine. That's the design back on that west facade, Sean. We do want those doors to be used for events. So if folks, or there is an event in there, that would be another way that we could come in and out of the library. It would not just be for fire use.
All right. This is the south entry to the building. So this, you can see there, the parking lot is how, I mentioned the grade before. Parking lot is a little bit lower. As we go across the site, it is a 10-foot grade drop between 6th Avenue and 5th Avenue. So we do need to make that up as we move up. So we've got a little bit of a staircase here and then an accessible ramp up the side to get into the south entry of the building. Using a lot of the same materials that we used in detailing along the north side, along the south side as well. And you can see we do have some bike racks over here, very close to the entry for this.
Have you considered covering for the bike racks? Some shade in the nice, so the seats don't get hot.
We have looked at adding, and we're out for an alternate right now with Bush Construction to see how much it would cost to actually add additional canopies over here. The canopy that we're looking at would shelter the ramp, but I don't think we've looked at extending it out further to the bike racks yet.
That's a good note, Catherine, and something that we can think about for the future. Definitely not budgeted right now, but something to think about for sure.
And then there is an interactive portion of the project today. So we are actually starting to look at bricks. So I'm going to go back to this image here first to kind of set this up. We've been showing kind of a medium red, dark red, light brown, medium brown range for bricks on the building as we've been going through this process. That's really to try to relate to many of the other brick buildings that are the closest to us. So City Hall, the middle school, and some of the other uptown buildings. We think that that range right here, there's plenty of options available to us to give us our own identity, but then we're integrating into the aesthetic of the uptown and not looking at things like cream or really super dark grays or oranges. With that, we've started some of this process, and I through a online or a remote calling, picking finishes is not the best. I can't control what the images look like on the screen, and getting some good images of things is also somewhat difficult. So it's not ideal, and we do plan in the future to have more of these real life, or you'll be able to touch and see the materials yourself. But we're kind of making do right now until we can get to that step. So we looked at a bunch of different bricks, and we've kind of narrowed down some of our selection to these 4. And there's a lot of qualification here, or
Disclaimers
here. Sorry. So the upper left one here, this is kind of a variated brick. So there are 3 different colors of brick that come when you order the brick. There's not an installation pattern. It's really basically how the mason takes the bricks off the pallet. That's what you get. But it does kind of have a little bit of a variation in when you look at the images or the building. So it's not all monochromatic, which is similar to this brown one, this is the same brick. There's not really intended to be much variation in it at all. It does. It should look more monochrome, a little bit more of what historic brick intended originally is something a little bit more monochrome across there. I did fail to mention that this brick, and I think a few of these other ones, do have a little bit of iron spot in it. And what that does, it really gives it a nice character when you get up close to it. And it does help the image as you kind of give a little bit of life to the brick as you look at it from farther back. The bottom 2 did not come in very well from the websites, and they don't actually quite look like this. They look a lot different in real life. So I really encourage people to come, and when we have these samples available, to take a look at them. So the smoke bronze is kind of a darker red brick, and it does have a little bit of that iron spot in it, kind of this white or shimmering effect on there. is not actually part of the brick. So it's a really unfortunate image, but it's the only one the website had at this stage. So it does have a little bit of iron spot in it, which might be contributing to that shimmer effect in the image. And same with the crimson iron spot. There's a bit of a shimmer on some of these bricks. This is a kind of a more of a medium to dark red brick, and the shimmer isn't really kind of part of the bricks. These are both kind of more monochrome approaches. This one on the upper left is really the only one with kind of a varied brick look to it. So are there any that resonate with you? And I know it's very hard with seeing things.
I would say another way to ask the question is, before we go into the interior, Sean, I'd like to get some more feedback on the exterior, but do you hate it? Are we in the right color scheme, as Sean sort of talked about, where we're going with the browns and the reds, trying to stay away from the oranges? Any more thoughts on that? We have a couple of our staff members that are commenting. One says they would like to see the shimmer in person, which I have in my office. So just to reiterate, we're going to be putting together some kind of storyboards, if you will, of some of the finishes before too long, and I will have those available. Right now it's kind of hard because we're still in that social distancing realm, but we will continue to walk through and work through ways to get you all access so you can touch it and see it and really get a better feel for some of these.
And then to kind of let you know, one of the things that we're working in the process is we just presented this yesterday, as we're starting to talk about lighting on the site. And, site lighting.
Look at that, you guys. I can't even let him talk. I get so excited.
So we've just started this. This is a draft image, and we start talking about different ways to light the building and some of the options out there. So we are looking right now at some up and down lights that would be focused at the building to create these light flutes, really taking into account light trespass and making sure that we stay within the zoning requirements, some lighting under the canopies, and then how do we light that terrace at night so that it can be extend the usable range of it.
Lots of likes of opinions about bricks. We're getting some comments about the lighting. I don't know what it is about a night vision picture. It just changes things up a little bit. I got excited when we talked yesterday, you guys. I'm learning a lot of words, a lot of new words that make me sound smart. But this big sign down here at the bottom is called a monument light, or a monument sign, Marion Public Library. And I think the architect has some really great ideas of how we can backlight that and make that stand out a little bit differently. And really nice. Seth had a comment, light looks great and the area could use some brightening. So this tends to be kind of a dark part of town at night. So,
and one of the things we didn't put in there yet is the street lights either. So there is, we've got some work to do. It is the rough draft, so we'll work on that.
So overall, you all seem to think we're on the right track. Haven't missed the mark. So that's great.
All right. Well, I'll move into the building layout, and we can always go back. So I'm going to start on the first floor, and what I want to talk through is we have an entry from the north and an entry from the south. So we have this long kind of connection piece. It's not too long. Sorry, it's the wrong word, but it connects to both the north and the south entries. The nice part about it is able to be controlled by a single service desk in the center that can see both entries. And then when you come in, you can easily see a staff member if you're interested in direct help, or you can hopefully intuitively find your way through it. This main street, or this main pathway through it, has a lot of things that are directly accessed off of it. So I'll start in the lower left-hand corner. This is our multi-purpose room. It has a folding partition that goes across, so it divides it into two 75-person rooms or one 150-person room for the community. We also have this kind of demonstration kitchen area down at the bottom for not only just cooking program, but it can also be for demonstration programs like how to fix a bike, or really anything that you would like to demonstrate to people. The main area in the plan is this area, I'm outlining it, it's called the marketplace. So this is where you're going to find your most used books, some featured collections, your grab and goes. We've got some large prints and periodicals in this kind of very nice northwest corner of the building. Within that, you can see our fireplace right here. This is kind of more of a community table. We have an image of that later. And then some soft seating around here. So you'll find new books in here, periodicals, large print. Off to the right here, we have media as a nice buffer zone between the main space and when we'll get into kids, and then some featured collections. The main staircase is located here, kind of easily accessible and visible from the main entries, as well as an elevator for the public. So hopefully very intuitive plan. You come in here and you should really easily be able to figure out where things are. We've also located the Friends book sale kind of centrally located as well between these two entries to highlight them. And then they do have this room over here, which is a kind of their processing room for curating their collection, what they're going to bring out for the Friends book sale area. It does have a door. Somehow it got removed from this image, but we did give them a door.
Sometimes we have doors, sometimes we don't.
As we go along here to the right, this is the youth department. So the first floor is shared by these main activities, main collection spaces, and meeting spaces, as well as children. So this is the children's department. On the north side, we've located some of the smaller crawlers and probably up to third grade zone in this area. This is lower stacks and lower activities, really trying to bring light in as far as we can. On the south side, we have some of our older kids, and this is more the traditional fiction, nonfiction collections, some study rooms for tutoring, a mother's room, and some breakout space for some of those older kids. On the far right, we have a program room that's dedicated for kids. This is also a devising room, so we can have story time and craft, or a larger room for just a larger activity for a program for the kids. And then up in the right-hand corner is an active learning zone that for that more interactive and hands-on learning that kids do. I will pause now because I've been seeing the chat window go up, so I don't want to.
Yeah, no, the chat room is just commenting. We're going to talk about bathrooms here in just a second, Sean. I'm going to do my little punch, I tell Sean, this is my punch up of this floor. A couple of things to point out. We have some comments about this interactive learning zone. I give a shout out to Sean very early on in this project as we started to talk about this area with our children's department here on the first floor of this area really being a place that caregivers, families can come and spend the whole day. We have, kind of that, what we call a baby garden, our crawlers, the younger ages, and then this being more of an elementary school age room. Things that we have back there, or that we're envisioning back there, are things like a big giant light bright where different age groups can come together and work together and solve problems. I keep telling people this is like the mall play place library edition, right? So we're talking large motor activity. Kids can move and get loud and work on projects together. We're really trying to find a good name for this. Right now we're calling it the interactive zone. If anybody has a great idea, let us know. But something very new and innovative in library buildings is this area where we let kids kind of be big and large with their learning as they move around. A lifesaver in the winter coming across from the chat, absolutely. We really want this to be a place in the wintertime that folks can come and have lots of options. I did want to mention, some of you were here last night that I didn't get to get this comment in. So we had a long conversation about what goes on the first floor, what goes on the second floor. I mean, if you think we had all these decisions worked out pretty quickly, this one, it felt like every other meeting that we came to, I had a different take, right? And what we really tried to do with this marketplace zone that Sean talked about was try to give the adults things that they need, and the stuff that are most readily used by the adults, things like the large print in our newspapers and periodicals, the media, those new books and the hot items and all of that stuff. If you just want to come in and read the newspaper by the fire or grab a magazine, or you're getting large print, we wanted to make that stuff readily accessible and quick grab. Whereas as you go up to the second floor, Sean's going to talk to you a little bit more. That's if you're really wanting to come into the library and browse and look around and spend some time. So what I love about this space is that it's very flexible, and library staff is going to have the ability to move things around and adjust based on what things feel like for us when we get into this space. This children's area, I'm just responding to some of the chat, is going to be life-changing, not only for the library staff, but for the community, as what you've experienced in our building before. This programming room over here would be what we would consider to be a story time room, right? So that programming room will be for story times and music and movement and bedtime, pajama story time, all of those story time things that we don't have dedicated kid space for right now. That is what that room is for. And then lots of storage and different places here. So there's lots of room. One of the areas that we'll talk about on the second floor too is study rooms. If you've ever been in, there is we have a lot of tutoring that goes on in the afternoon, a lot of need for those small group meetings. And so those are super important. The other thing that I just can't punch enough, we had some comments about this as we were going through, Sean, is this demonstration kitchen. This is going to be a huge feature and draw for this library, we hope, as well. Many of you know that we do encore meals at the library on Mondays and Fridays, our senior congregate meals. In the summertime, we are a meal site for the school district as well, where we provide summer meals to our kiddos. So we already have a lot of food stuff going on in the library, and we want to make that easier, more, just be set up in a way that we can handle food better. And while we were doing that, we were thinking, well, hey, let's just go all in and make this a culinary learning experience where not only are we going to be able to serve our meals in a better way and be more equipped for that, but we can do some programming. We have the teens that come into the library every day after school, anywhere from 50 to 60 kiddos or 50 kiddos, and they always want to learn how to cook. So we're thinking of this as a really great way to bring in that culinary programming, whether it be teaching or sharing cultural diversity, those types of things. So this is sort of a blank slate for us right now. It felt like a natural progression of the stuff that we're already doing, but we're really excited to program that demonstration kitchen and bring that forward in the new building. Go ahead.
I do know that there was a few questions about restrooms, and what I'd like to do is get through just the quick overview of the plans and then address that one more specifically,
100%.
if we could. Okay.
Let's move on upstairs, Sean.
I got one more space. There's a small staff zone down here. So we have receiving and some mechanical spaces over here on the lower right-hand corner. We do have a staff elevator. It's located specifically, and you'll see this on the second floor, that if the public elevator would ever have some troubles or go down, that we can still use this elevator and keep the library operational for anyone who would need an elevator. Back here, these two stars at the bottom, one is the book drops. This is your traditional drive up. You put the book in the bin and you drive away. And then there is also a service window here. So this is the area where you can do the online holds and other services that the library they can discuss. And we have a few staff spaces, a staff meeting room, and foundation spaces down here. But really the majority of this floor is really focused on public. Anything that needed to be on the first floor for staff, we put it down here, but we did try to maximize the public access to the first floor. I'm gonna move upstairs, and the stairs are accessed right here as well as the elevator. The upstairs, you arrive at the same spot with the stairs and the elevator, and there is another staff location up here. So if you're looking for that staff assistance or questions, you have that easily accessible. Otherwise, you can proceed into the space. This main zone here is a little bit of an extension of the first floor marketplace. So there could be some additional featured collections in this zone. And it also acts as kind of that town square where we have a lot of different things that you can access off of this main point. The first area on the left here, this is the adult collection zone. So we've got fiction, nonfiction, a variety of 2-person study rooms and 4-person study rooms available for the adults. Access to the terrace would be right behind the service desk here, and then a large conference room here. So this is kind of the adult wing of here. Kind of between what we'll get to teens and adults is this tech and maker zone. So we're looking for a recording studio right in the center as a featured element. This will have green screen technology as well as audio recording. We have a kind of we'll call it the artisan studio. So things like 3D printers, sewing classes, art classes, painting. All of that can be done within this room here, very durable materials as well as easily clean, and some computers. We do also have some adult computers on this side, which can be a little bit more separated and more focused on different activities. As we move to the east of the building, we've got the 2 kind of spaces for teens. We've got a teen activity room, and that is exactly what we want it to be, activities. So this is where we're hoping there's a lot of socializing, there's loud, there's gamings, there's programs going on in this space. Really letting kids be loud, letting teens be loud. And then we do know that teens do like to study, and there needs to be a little bit more of an option for them to engage in those quieter activities, and that's really what this area is. So we've got collections here. We've got a couple of study rooms specifically earmarked for teens for tutoring as well as group projects, and then some computing over here as well, which is separate from the adult computing. On the far, excuse me, on the far east end is the main staff zone. So we've got some administration work, some programming area, large areas we have for programming. We have so many more options for programming in this building that's going to be a real big increase in staff resources here. So we tried to make sure they have plenty of space to do that work. And then, some break room, mechanical rooms down on the bottom. Before I jump into restrooms, is there any other comments that we can address?
I will just say my punch zone here is this maker space zone. We have some comments that looks awesome, loves all the specialized areas. Sean talked about this recording studio, and I'm envisioning things like oral history projects, podcasts. Those of you that have kiddos of, 3rd grade or higher, all the YouTube videos and the TikToks and all of that stuff that kids are doing, maybe we can make that a little bit more formal and educational with a studio like this. New space, just like we talked about with that demonstration kitchen. We are going to be working between now and when this project comes up, this building is open, on how we program and work with that space. But I really hope it is an intergenerational space where we can bring this teen population together with the adult population and learn some of those lost arts like sewing and canning and different things that we want to pass on to generations. There is a question about where does the fireplace fall on this floor, Sean?
Ooh, that's a good question. It is right here. So this is the 2-sided fireplace. One side faces the terrace and one side faces a seating group on the inside. And there is a sink in the art studio.
Mm-hmm. There, I think these the meeting room spaces that we're seeing here on the second floor, Sean, I just would punch that. This is probably the biggest improvement, so to say, from a space perspective. The thing that we're really lacking in this building is kind of that breakout space, those meeting rooms. The 5 meeting rooms study rooms that we have right now are constantly booked. We always have a waiting list for people to get into those. So we're really hoping that this expanded space will better meet the demand that we see every day in this community.
So I'll quickly summarize the restrooms, just so we can go through that. So there are 2 restrooms here for the staff. So these are located near the break room, not right by the break room. But these are staff use only. They're single use restrooms. And then we do have a 6 total, 3 each, a men's and a women's restroom on the second floor. I'll go back to the first floor. On the first floor, we have a mother's room right here,
Hang on
which
1
will
second,
have a
Sean.
changing.
There's just a little bit of delay. Okay, now go.
Oh, okay. I'll give it 1 second here. On the first floor, we have a mother's room right in the center of kids. We have a shared family restroom. Both of these have changing tables in them. There was a question before, why 2 toilets in there? One is going to be a little kid height toilet, and one is going to be a normal height toilet, so that there is that option for the young kids. For a toilet to count as a real toilet, there are certain accessible guidelines we have to do, so it has to be at a certain height, and little kid toilets don't actually count. So this does allow for the use of both of them. There is another staff restroom on this floor for these staff, a single use for them. Over here in the corner, right up by the south entry off this corner is a open access restroom. This doesn't have a door, so this will be a little bit kind of function basically like an airport restroom. So you can just walk right into it. This is a universal restroom. So there are 6 stalls total here, and the stalls go from the floor to the ceiling. So this is basically like 6 individual rooms. The doors, the partitions have locks. There is, it's basically its own compartment. It has a toilet in there and all the toilet accessories that you would typically see in a restroom. But there is 6 of them together. There's a single shared sink and a child changing table in here along this wall, close to the sinks as well. So this is a very large and luxurious room. The idea behind it is that we have plenty of options moving forward if changes need to be made.
So 2 questions. One, is there a child height sink in the family restroom in the children's area?
Typically, we set the sink a little bit lower, but not, there's no real guidelines on child height sink. So it is usually a little bit lower, but it's at a height that is both comfortable for an adult and a kid. So it's not super low, but it's not normal height either.
Mm-hmm. So comments are rolling in, as we were hoping, about the universal or non-gender specific restroom. I will just comment on that to say that we know this is a newer concept. This is not something by code that is required right now, but it is something that is starting to become more common, especially in public and public libraries. There's a couple of different talking points around this, and I think Sean has a really great one that I'll steal, which is, we have a lot of folks that come into the restroom that are caregivers for others, and they're not always children. And it's often difficult for them to support one another if they are assigned to gender-specific restrooms. So it could be a parent-child type of situation, but we do have multiple scenarios in which there are caregiving that needs to happen, and being able to allow that is a way to be more inclusive. We have put a lot of intentionality into how this restroom will function, and again, we're still investigating and going down this this path and gathering the feedback. But the way that the team has designed this room is it's large enough for us to make a change to it if that is not something that will end up working for our community. They've made it very easy for us to partition off and put back into gender-specific restrooms if we need to be. So this is a flexible design right now for us. It is something that is being contemplated, but wanting to make sure that we have multiple options for different restrooms throughout the library. So we have this one contemplated here with the family restroom around the corner there, and then the gender-specific restrooms on the second floor as well. So couple of questions about, could you consider maybe less stalls in there, not have 6? Someone else said, will we not be able to use the restroom? There will be other restroom options in the library as well, as I just discussed. Couple of more comments for in favor of gender specific, 2 new. Someone says there are a lot of universal restrooms in Europe. I like the concept. Someone said, I think it's a good point that young people will congregate around there. Someone said that there's not enough stalls if there were a bigger function. Do you want to talk about that, Sean, and how we come up with the number of stalls that are in a restroom?
Yeah, the number of restrooms for the facility is based on code. So we go through an occupancy calculation for the building. We go through the code manual, and that's how we select the gender specific count, and then we can set that towards any type of arrangement that we would like in the building. I am trying to follow as well. So there are 2 urinal specific rooms, and we're going to work with signage in this area to help communicate that. And I think there'll be more information as we proceed forward on this.
Yeah, so thank you all for the comments, and we'll, as maybe you just said this, Sean, somebody passed me a note, but we're continuing to take a look at that. We're hoping to do some benchmarking with other facilities across the state and other libraries. We hope to have some concepts and designs for you all to look at. So more to come on that. We do appreciate the feedback. There was a question, Sean, about will there be 2 stalls with urinals?
Yeah, we did. Right now we're looking at 2, maybe 1. We do think it is a good idea to at least have 1 as a urinal, just overall for good design and cleanliness.
Mm-hmm. Just one more comment, and then we'll move on about safety. As Sean said at the beginning, this restroom does not, if you all have been to airports lately, there aren't doors that close off a restroom. Generally, when you walk in, you see these a lot in arenas to event spaces where there's no door. You just kind of walk in and kind of go around a corner to get to the stall space. That is the reason why that is the design here. So it's designed to be that same way. Go ahead, Sean.
All right.
I did want to comment on one other question that came up. There was a comment made about that it looks like the collection is a lot smaller in this building, and I would actually say that's not the case. We have been working through our collection size as we move from one building to the next. And I think by and large, the collections that you are expecting to remain large will remain large. There's some changes, I will say, in our collection. And if you'll stay here on the second floor, Sean, I would like to point out, for instance, audiobooks. We have a section here for audiobooks. We have one of the largest collections of audiobooks, one of the largest and oldest, I would say, collection of audiobooks. And so I want you all to know that we have to think about space and the format of which we provide our materials. As we talk about times changing and the world changing a little bit, we've got to make sure that we keep enough space to accommodate all formats. So for instance, if you buy a new vehicle these days, they do not come with a CD player. You have to, it's sort of like when, I think in most recent history, we phased out tapes, we phased out, you can't get a car that has a cigarette lighter or an ashtray in it anymore, right? So the same thing is kind of starting to happen with DVDs and those, or CDs and those formats. So we've got to continue to maintain a balance between keeping a large collection of a book on CD versus what are the other formats like our new playaways that we have brought into the collection in recent months. So I think that you won't necessarily see a huge decrease in our collection by any stretch of the imagination. But what you may start to see is some change in some of the formats and how we're delivering things, and making those things available to the community. So anyone that would like to talk to me about the size of the collection or any of that, we'd be happy to have more specific conversations about that. There is a question about where the checkout stations are, Sean.
There is one on the second floor. We have one right now near the service desk. And then on the first floor, we have two near the entry. And I know this, I have to wait a second for it to update on your screen. And then we have one in children. So there'll be 4 self-checks total in the building, or is planned right now.
And then there are circulation, there are
Yes.
staff desks there too. Okay, I think we're good.
All right, we did want to go through a little bit of the interior design and finishes. And again, I will add my disclaimer, not great to do it online, and you really, it's better to see these actually in person. But we're gonna press forward and keep moving through our process. So I have Acela on, and I was wondering if she wanted to kind of walk through the finishes, and I can talk to you a little bit about the images.
Sure. So as we moved along with our architectural, we also like to draw from inspirational images. And one of the things that we typically like to do is really look at some of the imagery that excites us, that brings a sort of a palette or even an aesthetic that we would like to bring into the library. And the images that you're about to see are some of the ones that were selected for us, for the team to move forward with as far as the interiors palette. So the first image on the top left is an image of just textural elements, colors, and some of the wood tones and brick textural differences that everybody really sort of gravitated to. There was a lot of positivity with the image and the colors. And once we have all of these points really pulled out of this image, we start to look at colors, we look at fabrics, and we start to pull imagery that is similar for carpet and other materials. So all of the little color squares that you see alongside that first image are some of the colors that we've pulled as inspirational starter points. So there's a lot of neutrals and some warmer tones, and that is really what we were trying to start with, so that it more of a complementary palette to our exterior design. After that starting point, we look at our base, which is our carpeting and any other type of flooring that we would introduce into the building. In this case, we really felt that a more of a neutral flooring in color would be best to help emphasize any of the other richer tones and other fabric patterns and textures that we would bring into the building. So the large imagery that you see sort of collaged together in the center is one of the starting points of our palette. So for the adult, like I said, we started with more of a neutral base and really emphasizing a lot of textural, more artisan sort of fabrics and color schemes that are warm and contrasting at the same time. And that really felt along the lines of what the library was looking for, so that once we have our neutral base, anything that changed throughout the years and anything that would be replaced is still workable with this neutral carpeting, neutral base that we start our palettes with. So in this case, the adult really was more of our neutral starting point. And as we move forward into the other areas of the library, we started to think about how would we transition from this textural, neutral palette into a slightly more vibrant and colorful transitional palette, potentially for more for additional adult spaces or into a teen area. And that is where the second palette on the bottom was developed. Again, we used an image to really pull and draw color from, and to really bring some pops of color and texture and just overall ideas of what some of these spaces could potentially have along with our neutral base. And the same concept as the top imagery, we pulled some colors, and those colors were our inspirational point for other items such as fabrics, flooring, and any wood tones that we would put together for either young adult or adult spaces. So in this middle palette that you see grouped together right now, again, has a neutral base, has a wood tone that is complementary, yet it definitely stands and is contrasting from the base, with a couple of fabrics that have some more artisan or even just organic pattern to them, but are very complementary still to the palette itself. And this is just one slide that has more of an adult and young adult take on what the potential of moving forward into our interior concepts. And then Sean has shown some imagery of what we've started to look at material-wise for our spaces.
So again, some of these are a bit rough draft in nature, but we wanted to start pulling some of these materials into the inside and start looking at the interior design of the space. So you're looking at the first image on the top. We are standing at the north entry and we're looking south. Off to our right is this kind of fireplace room that we have here, which you can see at the bottom. We have a little Friends book sale here, and then some entry into the meeting rooms, as well as you can see the south entry, and then the stair that goes up. So as you enter the building, hopefully very clear, very intuitive way to move through the space. On the bottom image, we're showing basically just to the right of the north entry, we have this fireplace element, maybe some fun differences in the ceiling and flooring, but trying to highlight some of these, found spaces as you work through the building, these kind of oases among the collections that really immerse you not only in the collections themselves, but allow you the ability to access natural light and that connection to the outside.
I'd like to jump in and share that. I would say above all, as we've been getting feedback about the library, and this is really where I'd like to hear some specific input from you guys as we go through these images, is we want a library that is warm and cozy and reflective of Marion. We don't want an uber modern library. We want something that is reflective of us and who we are in this community. And so I think Sean and Acela have really heard us. The last time we were able to all get together in person, and every time actually they're here, we eat at a local restaurant in Uptown, but we did a big walkabout, and we started at Goldfinch, and we walked through Goldfinch and took a look at the vibe there. We popped over and did a walk through Uptown Snug. We walked over to Scout. We went into Ramsey's. We went over to the chocolate shop and really just kind of said, hey, this is Uptown Marion. This is what we're going for here. Get us a vibe that the library fits into the community and is reflective of the community that we want to be. And so we're hoping that we're picking up what you all put down in those comments, and that we're honoring that cozy, warm feeling that, it's our neighborhood library, but also kind of giving a nod, as Acela said, to, our artistic nature, our kind of fun, whimsy side too, and bringing in a little bit of both of those elements. Any thoughts on these kind of adult locations? Yes, there is another design board for the children's area coming up.
All right, so.
Okay, so the next slide, okay, here we go. So here we've got more bolder, brighter palette. The top palette, again, we start with an image. From that image, we pulled some really fun, vibrant colors, which could potentially be used as paint or an inspiration point for fabrics and other elements, other materials in the building, which is what we did. The little collage in the center on the top shows just one palette that we've been looking at for more of a teen or tween area, where we definitely want to bring up some of those vibrant, more energetic patterns and tones. That is something that generally is very identifying for them. They gravitate to spaces that have bolder, more of a, energetic, I would say. I keep saying that word, but that's really what they are, very energetic. And I think if we were to do anything that was more neutral and more earth tone consistently, I think that would not be exciting to them. So this is just something that we pulled for them. And then along the lines for the younger side of the children's library, we tried to be a little bit more whimsical, a little bit more playful, which is the palette below. The imagery on the bottom left is something that everybody was very excited about. It has a very eccentric look, a little bit of a bohemian inspiration to it, which we just pulled the colors from because a lot of the colors really worked well. It had a lot of that cozy, natural, textural look that I think everybody really was drawn to. And by pulling those colors, that really, again, helped us start to pull some fabrics, again, a neutral base for a carpet, and then a lighter wood tone, which we would like to use in the children's area, just so that it's clean, it's bright, it's vibrant for them. And, it's a fun place, exciting place for all of these children's, whether it's the tweens and the younger elementary school group, to really take advantage of this large active space that they're going to be enjoying.
So we've only done a few interior renderings so far, and most of them have been focused on this marketplace. But the image on the the top here is, if you would turn left out of the entry that we were looking at before, you would see the children's entry. We want to give them kind of a portal, a little bit of a, you're crossing this line into kind of a different area. So we want to have something fun here. We have a child height door. We have some, we're going to keep working on it and keep kind of exploring ways to make this fun and kind of a destination for them as well. I think it's exciting when kids, you can see the excitement in their eyes when they're going someplace they want to be. As we move down to the lower image, you can see that this is about where we left off, and we have some work to do here. But we're starting to thinking about the children's area and how that can lay out similarly to the other spaces. So a little bit seeing how the bread is made here, but we wanted to share everything we have to date and really make sure that we're getting the information out during this period.
So we have some comments. The warmth of the wood tone is nice. The stripe of green on the floor as a sort of road for the kids, as well as the shelves that let the books face out. Yeah, so we these are two good examples of some things that we're excited about the library that I'll comment on as we talk about the interior design and what you all might expect. When we talk about this area as a marketplace, one of the things that we want to have a really good balance of in the building is the browsability, like your ability to browse books. I will just go ahead and confess that I'm a big cover picker. Like if the cover looks good, I'm more likely to pick it up and take a look at it. And oftentimes when you have books spine out, what we call spine out, where you're just seeing the spine, you don't get to see the pretty cover art of a book. And so libraries are really focused on this concept of merchandising these days to really make that collection pop. And it really, I think it allows the collection to be a part of the decoration of the library, the appeal of the colors, to have those face out. So these shelves that this concept, I certainly can't guarantee that this is what we're going to end up with. This concept where our end caps of our shelves are going to allow us to merchandise or advertise, if you will, the collection is really exciting and fun for us. And then that's sort of our kind of habit as adults, but it's a big deal in children's. So on the bottom, when you see those face out things for the kiddos, they definitely pick their titles by what's on the front and what they're looking for. So you're going to see a lot of book bins and a lot of face out stuff, definitely in the kiddos area, but we want to do a good bit of that for the adult and teen collection as well. Okay, we have a little bit to go here.
So we did want to update everyone on the next steps and where we are at in the schedule. So this is a little bit of an overview. So the inside circle here, the more colorful area, this represents different phases in our project. So we had a schematic design phase, which is the dark orange. This kind of medium orange yellow color was design development, and the yellow color is construction documents. So the first half of this circle represents the design of the project. The second half, the green and the blue, represents the bidding phase as well as the construction. So we're about a quarter away through the project, or about halfway through the design. So as of today, we've submitted our design development documents to Bush Construction, and they're working on an estimate for us right now.
Hence the reason why we're here with you all today, because we've done a lot of work in trying to get this far. A lot of where we are right now is not final. And so this is a time that we want to hear from you all on, are we tracking in the right direction? Someone said they liked the white finishes in children's. Definitely want to make that area a lot brighter and more vibrant for our kiddos. So it's really important to me. I started this, and I want to reiterate that this is your library. This library, my biggest desire is that this library be reflective of what you all are looking for, and that it resonates with you as a member of this community. So I know you may not get all your feedback or your thoughts out in this session, but I am going to encourage, I'm sorry, someone speaking? Reach out to me after this. I'll make sure that I say my email address before we log off here. But this is a really great time to make sure that we are tracking along with the community and your feedback.
And then the yellow pieces down here does have there are two sections to this. That's because we're actually going out to bid twice. We're going to do a site and a structural bid package, and we're going to wrap that up and bid that this kind of the middle of this summer. And that's so that Bush Construction and the contractors that get awarded the project can get in the ground in the fall. This is really intended to kind of save the library money and get in before the winter sets in. The second piece of here, this is going to be mechanical, electrical, plumbing, architectural, interior. That's the second bid package, and that will be bidding sometime in the fall.
And I just want to say, here's my punch. Get in the ground by fall, you guys, means groundbreaking, if all goes well for this project, is October 2020, like 5-6 months from now. Woo, woo. We're super excited.
And the red line here just says we're really near the end of the design development. We've got basically estimating left, and that's really what Bush Construction is working on. And then we'll move into construction documents and bidding as we move forward.
So at this point, thank you, Sean. We're going to give you a break. Take a deep breath. Great job, Sean. Woo woo. We're going to turn it over to our construction management team at this point. I've asked Jared to do a little bit of just a quick little overview about how they're going to approach this project as far as local bidding and local contractors, and how we're going to engage with the community from the construction side of it.
Sure. Thanks, Holly. Yeah. So Bush Construction is located in the Quad Cities, but we do work kind of regionally. We work in about a 3 to 4 state area. And anytime we travel to a new community, we like to engage with our local subcontractors to build the projects we build. And that'd be no different when we come to Marion. So we've already started in that process. With the budgeting process that we're doing right now, we've already reached out to local contractors from Marion to help us with the budgeting, and they've been very responsive to do that. We've engaged with local electricians and plumbers and glazers and roofing contractors to help get really current market data on the bidding climate to make sure we get a good budget for Holly and the team to make sure we're hitting our marks. And then when we roll into construction, we'll do the same thing. We typically have like community outreach type sessions prior to bidding, talk to the Chamber of Commerce and local unions to find out what companies are in the area that we can partner with, let them know about the project, let them know the timeline of when it's going to bid and what kind of documents, what our contract structure is to make sure they're comfortable with the project, make sure they've got the capacity, the manpower, those types of things to be able to do the job, and then make sure they're aware of it so that they can fit it into their schedule and give us a good bid. So we're excited to start those sessions here. Like Sean said, our first packages will be out to bid in July and August, and then the second round will be later in the summer. So hopefully the restrictions of the whole COVID thing will be loosened a little bit, and we can start having some face-to-face meetings with some contractors. So we're excited to start that process. So.
Thank you, Jared. Just so you guys know how much I've learned, and maybe I'm sure you all are much smarter than I am on this topic, but glazing equals windows. Glazers are window people. I didn't know that. So I'm learning a lot of things. Any questions for Sean or Jared about the schedule, about our process, anything that you want to see? This is the end of our presentation. I was thinking as we've going through, my baby analogy maybe isn't as great as like our little Lion King, where they like put the Lion King out there and sing that little song that you're all going to be singing the rest of the day now. So this is our little Lion King that we've put out there, and now it's going to take the whole community, our whole the whole animal tribe here to get this thing off the ground and get those final touches put on there. So what questions do you have? Any last comments? Overall reactions? Y'all can use the hand signs too if you have your videos turned on. Stay tuned for more opportunities to get your hands on and see kind of face-to-face brick samples, finishing samples. We'll continue to put the information out via press release and social media. Please talk to your city council representatives. Don't hesitate to call or email me. Whatever we can do to keep you connected, we're going to continue to do that. And then I would say above and beyond anything else, spread the word. Help us spread the word. Be sure to walk away. I hope that you tell 5 people after you attend this session today of what you learned, what you're excited about, the feedback, all that good stuff. We are so thankful that you are here. We are proud to serve you, and I hope to talk to you all, see you all very soon. Thank you so much.